I think you can leave again.
Okay, we're live now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I reconvene the meeting of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council on Tuesday, the 25th of February at 2:37 in accordance with Regulation 13 of the meeting procedures. I declare we now have a quorum, and present in the chamber is Councillor Young, Councillor Walker, Councillor Edwards, Deputy Mayor Simons and Mayor Arnold. Apologies, we have an apology from Councillor Rob Churchill. In accordance with Regulation 39 of the Local Government Meeting Procedure, Regulation 2015, as Chairperson, I hereby request leave of absence for Councillor Carol McQueenie and Councillor Kenneth Gregson for this meeting of Council for personal reasons. Councillor Walker.
I'll move that Council grant Councillor Carol McQueenie and Councillor Kenneth Gregson's absence for the meeting of Council held on Tuesday, 25th of February 2025.
Thank you. Seconded, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you. In attendance today we have the Acting General Manager, Mr. Peter Porge, Acting Director of Planning and Development, Mr. James Bonner, Miss Christy McConnon and Mrs. Kerr as our Executive Officers today. Agenda item 1.4, late reports. General Manager, I don't believe we have any late reports.
No late reports.
Thank you. 1.5 is declaration of interest or conflict, and as Mayor, I request elected members to indicate whether they have any interest personally or via a close associate, as defined in section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or to any conflict as described in the Model Code of Conduct for Councillors in any item included in the agenda. Nothing, thank you. Ordinary meeting of council, agenda item 2.1. There is a recommendation on page 6. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 28th of January 2025 at 2 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Thank you. Seconder. Second, Councillor Edwards, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously, thank you. Agenda item 2.2 is the date and purpose of workshops held. There is a recommendation on page 8. Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I'll move that Council notes the information.
Thank you. Seconded. Deputy Mayor, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those
Before
in
you do,
favour?
Madam
Sorry.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
it says here that on the Tuesday, 18th February 2025, Councillor Kenneth Gregson was via remote control.
Remote conference, video conference.
I think he was in person. Is that the last one that we had?
I think you could be right.
He was
He was here.
attending a workshop by
That was just
video
the week
conference.
before, maybe. That was maybe the week, yeah, he did, oh no, yes, he did the week before, but not,
Scurried in late.
he was here.
I think he may have
I think
been,
he
but
may
we can
have
check that.
Yeah.
Councillor Walker, thank you. And we'll check that and make appropriate notification if we need to. Thank you. Nothing further? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 3.1 is responses to previous questions without notice, taken on notice on the 28th of January. There was a question from Mr. Robert Bond. The General Manager has provided a response. General Manager, is there anything you wish to add to this?
No, Madam Mayor, I think that's enough in the minutes.
Thank you. Agenda item 3.2, questions on notice. We have none advised. I note that we have 2 members of the public in the chamber with us at the moment who have questions without notice. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Arnold. Yes, I'd like to give a short prelude in relation to my question, if I may.
Yes,
ma'am.
yes,
On the 5th of November 2024, I hand-delivered written correspondence to Council's reception. This was a statutory declaration addressed to the General Manager. I asked for this form to be stamped and a copy given to me. 22 working days later, on the 5th of December, I had a meeting by appointment with Mayor Arnold. I asked for assistance in gaining a reply to my correspondence. It was agreed for the Mayor to make inquiry under the Customer Services Charter. As to the extent of the inquiry, to whom, and the result of the inquiry, I know not. This is the second time I have attended a council meeting because of no acknowledgement to my written correspondence addressed to a General Manager. My question is, Madam Mayor, why have I been denied due process under the articles contained within the Customer Services Charter? Repeat denial of due process by council is poor governance. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
thank you, Mr. Hodson. General Manager, do you wish to add anything to this? I think we had Mr. Hodson, I have to be honest and say here, I may have let you down in this. I'm sorry. I think something that happened after our meeting that I may not have.
But the
Well,
situation is I've not had a reply.
I
from council.
understand that, and I can only apologise on the part of council. General Manager, I take it now that Mr. Hodson has raised it in a public meeting, you will be happy to follow up and provide answers to his questions.
Certainly, that's absolutely correct. We will follow that up. Saying apologise on this occasion, but provide advice as to what's occurred there, and response will be provided in the following council meeting. Thank you.
But you will talk to Mr. Hodson in the
Yes.
meantime.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hodson, thank you. And again, my apologies if I failed you on this instance as well.
Apologies accepted. You're a busy lady.
Thank you. Mr. Gary Wilson, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I wrote in a question without notice relating to the consideration by council of the grant to the Spoke Motorbike Festival. I have since had a chat with Councillor Edwards.
Yes.
Part of the problem that I was concerned about actually relates to inadequate information about the nature of the event and the site. My understanding was that the site goes to the property goes to high water mark, in which case the council may have had some responsibility for actions on the beach below high water. I understand, I'm informed that the property goes to low water mark. So that relieves council of some of those issues. There are still concerns, environmental concerns, I believe, about a race on the beach setting. So I'll leave that aside under the circumstances. But if I can, I would recommend, I'm not sure, explain protocols to me if I go off track here, but I'd recommend that some of these concerns that are not just mine but around the community could be resolved if there was more information available about the site and the conditions that the race organisers have agreed to in their own volition, committed to protect the environment. So if I could suggest to council that that be put in place ahead of next year's race. And I'm not sure whether council has the capacity to do this, but the form that is filled out to apply for a grant has no reference to environmental conditions.
Thank you. I'm sure General Manager and officers will take your comments on board, and I think they are very relevant comments. Probably that don't only apply to a festival like the Spoke Festival, there are obviously other festivals that council supports that may have some environmental issues as well. So I'm confident that the General Manager will take on board your comments for today, and I'm pleased you've been able to have a discussion with Councillor Edwards. This is not, in this session, Mr. Rison, this is not a debate session between councillors.
Yeah.
So I can't allow Councillor Edwards to add anything to it. So other than we will deal with it. We will deal with the matter accordingly.
I was just going to explain, if I may, I've
Sorry.
also spoken to the organiser of the
Yes.
event. Just
That's what I was going to say. Good on him.
Good. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen. So for attending the meeting. You are more than welcome to stay in the meeting for the duration of it. But you may have something more exciting to do than attend a council meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you very
Gary.
much.
Thank you, councillors.
We'll move on. Agenda item 4. There are no planning matters under agenda item 4. Agenda item 5 is the financial reports. There is a recommendation on page 15. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I'll move that council receives and notes the financial reports as attached to this report for the period ended January 2025.
Seconder. Councillor Edwards, thank you. Any questions or comments in relation to the financial reports? Nothing there. The motion, all those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Section 24, committees is agenda item 6. 6.1 is the Tribana Recreation Ground. There is a motion, there is a recommendation on page 17 in relation to the minutes. Councillor Walker?
Thank you. I move that the minutes of the Tribana Recreation Ground Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 13th of November 2024 be received and noted.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councillor Walker, I believe you're on this committee, or
I am,
Councillor
but
Edwards?
I was not at this meeting, however, Councillor
Councillor
was.
Edwards, is there anything you wish to add? Councillor Edwards, any comment?
Just that I think that it's a productive S24 committee. It's done a very good job in ironing out a lot of angst of the past, and the three organisations, juniors, seniors and cricket and netball, all work well together and actually appreciate each other's concerns and put forward where money is needed to be spent the most, not if it's just for their particular sport, which is quite refreshing.
I think as a council, Councillor Edwards, we are incredibly lucky to have the members of our Section 24 committees across the municipal area.
Yeah.
Very considerate. Okay, on that, if there are no other comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And item 6.2 is the Bicheno Hall Committee minutes. There is a recommendation on page 20. Deputy Mayor?
I move that the minutes of the Bicheno Hall Committee meeting held on the 28th of November 2024 be received and noted, and 2, that the recommendation contained therein for the appointment of Jan Jenkinson be approved.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Young, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to make any comment about the minutes, or are there any questions in relation to the minutes?
I don't think there's any questions. It's a good little committee and they do a great job.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? Nothing further. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 7 is the information reports. Acting General Manager Peter Porch's report is, recommendation is on page 25. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I'll move the council notes the information.
Second, Councillor Walker, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
No. Questions or comments for Acting General Manager?
No.
Receive the information. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 7.2 is our Acting Director Planning and Development, Mr. Bonner's report. There is a recommendation on page 28. 8. Councillor Walker,
Thank you. I move that council receives and notes a report on activities on the Planning and Development Directorate.
thank you, seconder. Councillor Edwards, thank you. Questions or comments for Mr Bonner?
If I may, thank you, Mayor. Through you to Mr Bonner, I've just sort of, on page 26, under animal control and compliance, the cat tracking program that was undertaken by the Friends of the Orford Bird Sanctuary at the Orford Bird Sanctuary on the 29th of November until the 13th of December in accordance with Cat Management 2009. And it just goes on. 2 cats were trapped during this period and transported to 10 lives by the Friends of Orford Bird Sanctuary. Both cats were deemed to be as feral and were euthanized by 10 lives in accordance with the Act. That's not too bad a catch, is it really? I would actually thought there would have been more.
Yes, yes.
Through
Mr
you,
Bonner,
Mayor.
thank you. Yes.
Yes, I would agree. It's not very many at all. I would have thought there'd be more. There's a lot of feral
Especially-
cats around, so.
And domestic as well.
And domestic, yes, there's only 2 caught,
Yeah,
yes.
it's pretty good.
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Young, yes.
to the acting director, is the bait in the traps attractive enough?
Councillor Walker, you had something else you wished to ask.
Can't help yourself, can you?
Through you, Mayor, I would need to take that on notice and.
I don't blame you for that, Mr Bonner.
Yes,
Councillor Walker,
thank
you
you.
have another question
Yes,
for
on
Mr Bonner?
Page 27, under environmental health, council's monthly recreational water sampling program commenced in December. They were taken at Mules Beach, Coles Bay, Richardson's Beach, Coles Bay, Walls Bay, Bishno, Jubilee Beach, Swansea, Raspens Beach, Orford, West Shelley, Orford, and Spring Beach, Orford, with all sites recording compliant results. And is that, so everything in Coles Bay was fine, especially at Mules Beach?
Yes,
Yeah,
under the recreational water guidelines,
right.
yes.
Just because that's been problematic area.
Councillor Edwards?
For a while, I've been, when Mr Woodward was our director, a lot of the Bishno, Coles Bay residents have been asking for a big, more visible sign at the Mules Beach Creek, because it's not actually, it's the water that comes out of the creek which they're concerned about, not the water in the ocean where the sample is taken. And in my discussion with a lot of residents, they're not expecting the council to fix the problem, but they would be very appreciative of a far more visible sign worded as to please don't let your kids swim in the water when it's coming down. The little kids go to the warm water in the creek. And I have a lot of people from up there pushing for that. So I was just hoping that that sign is being progressed through the system to appease a lot of that, or take the worry from a lot of the local residents. I've been sent numerous photographs of little kids swimming in the creek, and it doesn't look very nice.
To you, Mayor,
Yes.
that I will need to take on notice as.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
not.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
Necessarily over the procurement of the sign.
Right.
I shall get back to you about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr Bonner. Any other questions for Mr Bonner? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, those against, carried. Agenda item 7.3 is the Swansea Courthouse Management Committee report, and the recommendation is at page 30. Councillor Walker?
I move that council receives and notes the Swansea Courthouse Management Committee's 2024 annual report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Any questions or comments in relation to the Swansea Courthouse Management Committee report?
Just that they're very thorough.
Mm.
They're impressed with the way they manage that up there.
If there's nothing further, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, those against, motion is carried. Agenda item 8 is the officers' reports requiring a decision. 8.1 is the Director of Local Government's involvement request a response to a letter we received. There is a recommendation on page 32. Councillor Walker, thank you.
Thank you. I move that council notes the information and discusses the response from the Office of Local Government.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Edwards, thank you.
Point of order, Madam.
Sorry?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I don't quite understand what is meant by and discusses the response. Where are we going to discuss it and with whom?
Well,
It's not quite clear,
so,
and I assume if it's a detailed matter,
so
it's not
Councillor
appropriate to do it in this
Council-
meeting.
Councillor Young, the letter we received was the result of a question that was put to the local government division following a motion in January, in the January meeting. And the Director of Local Government has made some suggestions around some training for elected members at Glamorgan Spring Bay. So it's just really a matter of us now deciding whether how we want to go about that. And I think we need to heed the advice of the local government office.
I'm
And,
content with that, but I don't understand the meaning of the wording and
Yeah.
discusses.
Yeah, so it was discussed in this chamber, the letter from the local government division, and then us make a decision around how we want to proceed with those suggested, the training. Now, I think I've summed that up reasonably well, Mr. Porch. Is
It'd
that,
be nice if the motion said where we are to discuss it and roughly when.
well,
So it's
Yeah.
just up in the air, that's the way I see it.
no, discuss the response in this meeting to make a decision around how we're going to proceed.
Now, here today.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so, I mean, because my view is that this is a really good opportunity for us to take our destiny in our own hands in terms of the external advice from the local government division does actually provide support in relation to governance and meeting procedures. And this is probably a really good opportunity now for us to.
I'm not against the motion, I'm just
Okay.
not quite sure
So-
what was meant by it.
So after we discuss it, councillor Young, my view is there will be a motion that will, if you like, drop out of the discussion as to the way forward, the initial way forward. Is that's reasonable, Mr. Porch? Yes, right. So, are there any questions or comments in relation to the Director of Local Government letter? Councillor Walker?
Given that I moved the motion, I'll open. First of all, after that motion that was put to council, unbeknownst to quite a few of us, I would like to unequivocally, from myself, apologise to our acting general manager in regards to this, because it was, although the intent may not have been what it was poor form.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. This is not a time to discuss a motion that has been passed. It's already been passed, it was our last meeting. Right or wrong, it was passed.
Yeah. But this is part of the letter.
Yes,
As well.
Councillor Young, I'm inclined to agree with Councillor Walker that
We're
this-
having an open discussion about the letter, I suppose. I can say my bit later, can't I?
you certainly can. Councillor
But-
Walker, would you like to
Yeah,
continue?
if I may, thank you. Yes, I mean, I must apologise for my lack of, not knowledge, because I've been here long enough to know better, but to not do what I should have possibly done on the day. It was pretty poor form on my behalf as well, but again, I offer my apologies to the acting general manager for the distress that motion caused. And in the letter, it says in 4th paragraph, the Office of Local Government undertakes. However, Office of Power to intervene, particularly in the internal operations of councils, is appropriately limited. any significant intervention by the office of, or by the minister is not taken lightly and is considered a last resort. And another one I'd like to highlight too is the next paragraph under partway through. It is open to council to request operational information for acting general manager, especially where such details are pertinent to your strategic oversight of council operations. We've all got that opportunity to request the information from our general manager, acting general manager, whoever it may be sitting in the chair. I had my own self on that day. I had no idea what the motion was about. There was no detail. And yeah, as again, I unequivocally offer my apologies to the acting general manager. So that being said, I will leave my further words to closing.
Certainly. Any questions or comments, councillor
Once again, Madam Mayor, point of order. The motion, which I support, by the way, hasn't been put or passed. Until it's passed, we can't discuss in accord with them.
I did put it.
Was it put and carried, was it?
I did.
No, it's been put.
And carried.
No,
Yeah, the discussion motion's been put and carried.
Was it carried? Oh, my apologies.
think
I
that-
missed it.
it's not carried, it's been seconded, so we can discuss it.
Discuss it.
Yeah, well, it's got to be put in order to be discussed. I'm in
Yes.
favour of discussing it, but
Right.
it should be put first.
But it has been.
Mrs. Kerr, could I just defer to you? Did we put the motion? I did.
And it was carried?
But to discuss it.
It was seconded.
It was
This is
seconded,
how
but
that's-
was it put?
No,
No,
because
okay.
if it's put, it's closed.
I'm happy to
Yeah.
support it, but I think we should found
Councillor,
it first.
Councillor Young, just a moment.
Madam Mayor, where we're up to is the arguments for the motion.
Yes,
So argue for or against the motion before the motion is put.
yes. So we can do
Can
that. So we
continue.
can actually discuss the letter, can't we, before the motion?
I would think so. It's part
It's
of the
part of the
motion, so it's
motion.
part of the argument for the motion, Madam Mayor.
Oh, well, if you rule that way, Madam Mayor, that's your privilege. I
So
don't
council
challenge
notes the information and discusses the response. So we have a mover and a seconder for that, and that's what we're now doing. Noting the information and discussing the response from the Office of Local Government.
Discuss.
As distinct to a motion to discuss, which is put generally if there isn't a recommendation.
it. Is it appropriate we discuss it now? Is the real
Yes.
question.
Yes,
Thank you.
it is. I believe it is.
In this, Madam Mayor, in the sense of coming to a position so that councillors can vote on the motion.
Yes. And so they vote on this motion and then a motion can drop out as to what we want to do
Yes.
at the end of it. Thank you. Right. Any other comments or questions, councillor Young?
Madam Mayor, thank you very much. I did not see this motion that the letter, that caused the letter from Mr. Mulgreach, the Acting Director of Local Government, to be sent to this council before it was raised in this meeting. It came as a surprise to the wording of it. I knew there was some views about some of the difficulties council has navigated its way through many difficulties with a degree of success, I might say. I didn't read it as a criticism of any council officer, especially not of the acting general manager. Without going into confidential matters, council, I think, and still think, finds itself in a difficult situation. Not that I can see of its own cause, but it's caused considerable trouble in the operations of council, especially in obtaining reasonable applicants for at least one of the positions that have been advertised. I'm happy that we more or less go along with the suggestions set forth in the Acting Director of Local Government's letter, Mr Mogridge, to us. Otherwise, I commend the council officers. I know it's a difficult job. They do the best they can, and it seems to me trying to be a general manager is like trying to herd cats. People are all over the place. They all have different views. They all have good intentions. And what a scramble it must be sometimes.
Councillor Young, in relation to this, I'm at a quite a distinct disadvantage, this particular matter, in terms of the motion, because I was leave of absence for the January meeting, as you know. However, I asked the Acting General Manager to put the letter from the Local Government Division on the agenda, because I felt that then it needed to be shown in this agenda that the motion had been acted upon by the Acting General Manager in his role, and to demonstrate good governance effectively.
Thank you, Mayor. I do appreciate you doing that.
I am the person who asked the General Manager, the Acting General Manager,
There's no
to
harm in
put the
that.
response, because out of the letter from the Local Government Division, it provides us with an opportunity to ask the Acting General Manager to initiate some training for us, as was suggested by the Acting Director of Local Government. So out of this particular agenda item, where we're now discussing the response, I would hope that we will have a motion that will give us some guidance for the way forward. Comments on in this particular section, Deputy Mayor? No. Any comments?
The only
Councillor
comment on
Edwards?
that, I'd like to echo Councillor Walker's comments entirely. I thought it was an informed motion, and I too have every confidence in our staff, and particularly in the Acting General Manager, who's working his way through a very difficult period of time for the council, and I think he's doing a very good job at navigating his way through it.
Deputy Mayor doesn't have any further comment on this section, I don't believe. Councillor Walker, do you want to close debate on this motion, which is the discussed motion? And then I will call for a motion, a potential motion for the way forward that's come out of that, and after that we'll deal with this motion that's on the books now.
I think I have said all I need to say, and rather than prolong the discussion any longer, I will close my debate.
Thank you. I'll put the motion that council notes the information and discusses the response from the Office of Local Government. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried. Thank you. So I would now call for a motion that will provide us with a way forward. Deputy Mayor.
I'll move motion as a way forward that the council requests that the Acting General Manager to progress the governance training for councillors.
As suggested by the Local Government Division.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Can I have the last few words again, just before, as requested by Local Government Division? Could
So I'll
you
read
just
it
say
again.
slowly, if that's
Yep.
all right?
So the motion is that council request the Acting General Manager to progress governance training for councillors as suggested by the Local Government Division.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
You'll second, Councillor Young. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak to that motion, or?
Well, other than that was one of the outcomes that the Local Government Division suggested, that pointed to the fact that the motion that was put lacked governance and correct procedure and understanding of governance when it was made. So there was two. That was one side of the recommendation. The other side of the recommendation was that the council and the administration were doing everything they can and didn't really need the assistance of the Local Government Division. So that's in an operational sense. So this is something that councillors can take on board and hopefully improve their governance skills, so those types of motions don't come forward in council meetings like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? Nothing further, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, those against, carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.2 is the future of local government reform, the boundary adjustment investigation. There is a recommendation on page 34. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I'll move that council notes the progress of the state government's reform agenda to date and confirms its continuing interest in seeking benefits to the municipality's population through engagement in the reform process.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Edwards, thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Deputy Mayor?
Only other than it was a good productive meeting we had with the local government division and I think we're on the right path to get some clarity and understanding around what we might do in this space.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Young, then Councillor Edwards?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My personal view about this is that we should solicit information from our ratepayers about what they think about potential boundary adjustments. Because if it means a boundary adjustment where one town is taken over by an adjoining municipality, people in that area and those left behind might have a view about it. It'd be very nice if we solicited information from our ratepayers so that we can get an idea of what their view is and what they see the benefits and the downsides, if any, from the sort of adjustments the state government is talking about. Otherwise, they are my comments.
Councillor Edwards.
I think a lot of the points that Councillor Young have made will be answered, or we will have information to give to our residents when this process is followed through further down the track. It's just pleasing to see that, you know, I think the majority of councillors are supportive of having a constructive conversation from which we can make an informed decision, and the ratepayers can also make an informed decision on whether amalgamation is viable or not. You can't make a decision without the information.
I think I was in the meeting with the local government division, as you know, and I'm inclined to agree with you. This is an opportunity for council to provide assurance to the ratepayers in terms of the data that will be collected, but also provide assurance to ourselves, and an appropriate decision can be made at some future time. So, any other comments in relation to it? There's nothing further. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Agenda item 8.3 is a revised budget. There is a recommendation on page 37. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
The council approves the revised capital works budget for 2024-2025 as presented in the attached report.
Seconder? Very good, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you have any questions in relation to that?
No, I don't really. It's just housekeeping on the accounting side as far as I'm concerned.
Any other questions or comments for the General Manager? General Manager, do you wish to add anything to your report or the report?
Madam Mayor, only to just acknowledge the Deputy Mayor's comments. It is basically housekeeping. There's a number of decisions that Council have made as we've looked at tenders and determined that additional budget needed to be made to carry those projects out. So they are now contained within the report and will be reflected in the future reports. So that in instances where in some instances the capital works looks a little bit incorrect, this will now correct those anomalies.
Sure, thank you. So if there's nothing further, I will put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.4 is a rates remission for Kent Street, Buckland. There is a recommendation on page 40. Councillor Walker, thank you.
Thank you. I'll move that council approves a remission of rates and interest of $2,535.90 in total for property at Kent Street, Buckland, PID 934863.
Could I just correct you,
Seven.
councillor? It's
Seven.
seven.
Did I say 9?
You
Did
did.
not? Random. Leased to CP Backer and MK Larson. And I've just got a bit more to add to it, and informs the estate's administrators of such.
Is there a seconder? Debbie, thank you. Councillor Walker, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No thanks.
Councillor Young?
Madam Mayor, this is an operational matter, and generally the operational matters in this council are handled pretty well. I don't have a criticism so much of the way this has been handled, but it does concern me. Unless the law's dramatically changed since I ceased practicing over a dozen years ago, an administrator or an executor is liable for all the debts of the estate that accrue on the deaths of the deceased. If there's not enough money in the till, then of course debts can't be paid and the estate can be administered in either the bankruptcy procedure of Commonwealth or the administration provisions of how to handle estates.
Councillor Young, could I just stop you there? That may well be the case, but I acknowledge your knowledge in this space. However, the General Manager is dealing with this matter in accordance with Section 129 of the Local Government Act 1993, and I'm sure that he has taken into account everything that you have raised. So I'm
not going to
not
vote against the
I'm
motion.
not convinced that you're not introducing new information into this agenda.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
But what I'm doing is really asking, how do we look at these things so it doesn't happen again?
General Manager, it is an operational matter and I'm more than happy for you to respond. However, I am aware, having been on this council for many, many years, that our operational staff keep a very close eye on matters like this.
Madam Mayor, just happy to make the comment that in this instance, there is another entity which is involved in the process, and our response has been limited and our capacity to wind it up has been limited by the actions of that other entity. So that having now been cleared up, which we've been working on for 3.5 years, we can now bring this matter to a close.
Any other questions or comments in relation to it? Motion, all those in favour? Those against?
I abstain.
Councillor Young, that creates a difficulty.
Why is that? Oh, I see. I'll vote for it. It's not a major thing. And,
Can I put the
yeah.
motion again?
Yes.
All those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. Not absolute majority. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Young. Agenda item 8.5 is a request for event support for the East Coast Harvest Odyssey. There is a recommendation on page 44. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
I move that council approve the application for event support from East Coast Arts and Events Tasmania Limited, in brackets Echo Festival, in the form of a $2,000 cash contribution and in-kind support to deliver 12 bins for waste management as resources permit.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Walker, thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Deputy Mayor?
No, it's just one of those events in Swansea that they don't have a lot of these events, and they bring some people into town. One question I couldn't find it in the application that I wouldn't mind answered, and perhaps the General Manager might be able to answer this, is the actual number of ticket sales. the actual number of people that attend the event. I was interested in that would be.
I, through you, Madam Mayor, have to take that on notice.
I think I recall we had a discussion last year around the number of ticket sales. I can't remember what the numbers were, whether they're actually restricted to the numbers that they can have. So, would you be happy with the general manager providing that
Yeah.
session?
Absolutely.
If I
Thank
may,
you.
Mary,
Yes.
if I may, on page 41 of the attachments, it says event details, and then it says total number of people expected to attend at any time. There's total max is 500, including staff.
Oh, very good.
Is that expected to attend or? has
Yeah,
attended?
expected to attend, including staff.
So these are expected ticket sales,
Yeah.
one would assume.
Including
Yeah.
See if we can find any further information for you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions? Nothing further, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.6 is the community small grant application from the Swansea Makers Market, which has been auspiced by the Glamorgan Spring Bay Historical Society. There is a recommendation on page 47. Thank you, Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I'll move that council approves the application for community small grant funding of $1,000 to the Swansea Makers Market, auspiced by Glamorgan Historical Society, Inc., for advertising, venue hire, website maintenance and local entertainment for the market to be held in April 2025.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Very good, thank you. Wish to speak to the motion,
It's
Councillor
pretty
Walker?
stock standard.
Nothing further, no other questions or comments? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.7 is a seat request under the memorial policy. There is a recommendation. Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that, I'll just pass these around now or later.
If you wish, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move that, 1, council approves the request from Mrs Tanya O'Leary for a memorial seat and plaque for her now deceased husband Adrian O'Leary, a past dedicated employer of the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council. 2, that council places a memorial seat at the Tribunna Marina area in honour of the late Adrian O'Leary, and this is to be done in a timely manner. 3, that council pays for all associated costs for the installation of the memorial street and works with Mrs Tanya O'Leary around the wording on the plaque, and 4, that council informs Mrs Tanya O'Leary when the project is completed.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Simons, thank you. Councillor Walker, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do, thank you. So, I have it here somewhere, just give me a second. This motion seeks for support for the placement of a commemorative seat in the Tribunna Marina precinct in memory of former council employee Mr Adrian O'Leary. Sadly, Adrian passed away in August 2024. As per 2.1.1 of the Public Arts Memorial Policy, individuals deceased or associations that have made an outstanding contribution to the development of the Glamorgan Spring Bay municipal area. Adrian was a well-respected employee of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council, GSBC, for some 17 years, and was council's project manager for the redevelopment of the wharf area here in Tribunna. He ensured that all stages of the area were constructed to the highest quality. The precinct now provides our commercial, recreational fishermen, visitors and community life with a modern and usable facility that can be utilised and enjoyed by all. The area has become a vibrant and exciting area to visit, and the movement of the boat ramp to the other side has been a positive step in the usability of the space. As a councillor and a member and chair of the Marine Infrastructure Section 24 Committee of Council, I can attest to his tireless commitment to the marina redevelopment project. Adrian displayed professional dedication and regular updates to council and the Marine Infrastructure Committee during every stage of the construction over a number of years. The placement of seat at the memorial in honour of Adrian's commitment to the above mentioned project is, I believe, a fitting and respectful gesture from this council for a long-serving, dedicated and respectful employee of council, the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Walker. Councillor Young?
I strongly support this motion. I got a view about about Mr. O'Leary. I feel he was very harshly dealt with by this council.
Councillor Young,
And
could I,
that's why I
Councillor Young,
support this
Point of
motion.
order.
yes, councillor Young, can I please ask you to consider your comments in an open council meeting? But thank
I've
you,
nothing further to
thank you for your support. Councillor Edwards, then Deputy Mayor.
I too fully support this motion for the, well, you lot. It's because of Adrian O'Leary that I'm on council, because I had such a great respect for him and what he done, not just with the marina, but with the netball club, with every other thing he was associated with. Did just a thoroughly decent human being who, through his diligence and expertise, with the help of the council staff at the time, has developed the heart of Tribunna. We didn't have the marina, which is the why, for the life of me, we don't have photographs of it out in the road, because it's the most beautiful thing you'd ever wish to see. It's his hard work and diligence, as I say, with the help of other officers, that's got it there. And the very least we can do is stick a chair there.
Deputy Mayor Simons?
Yeah, I just support Councillor Woods, Councillor Walker and Councillor Edwards' comments there, and I was just reflecting on, I was fortunate enough to know Adrian before I was a councillor, and I had a lot to do with him in Bicheno, and he was so helpful and so positive and so proactive for our municipality. It was really refreshing, and he was a practical man that looked for logical outcomes and actually got things done. And he certainly left his mark on this municipality.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I fully support Councillor Walker's motion, because I had the pleasure of working with Mr. O'Leary through 17 years of being a councillor, and I totally endorse the words of everybody in the chamber. Councillor Walker, would you wish to close?
Yeah, if I may.
Yes.
This has been quite an emotional motion, not only for myself but for Mrs. O'Leary. And part of the reason why I wanted to vehemently, I think that's the right word, support this is to support her in her grief, and take away some of the stresses that having this, doing this is taking away a little bit of the stress and and not angst, but I can't think what
Pain.
the pain.
Pain of losing her husband.
Yeah.
And it's very raw and very real, and I feel that it's the least we can do. And Adrian, he didn't only do the Marina Precinct, he did a lot of things throughout the community. And by having a seat there in his memorial or honour, or however you would like to say, gives people a place to go and reflect, especially his family.
Yep.
There is somewhere where they can now, in due course, go and sit and reflect on what he did for our community. So I thank councillors around the table for supporting this motion.
Thank you. As you close debate, councillor, I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
And thank you. Agenda item 8.8 is the recognition of continuous years of service policy review. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
I'll move that council adopts the recognition of continuous years of service, councillors and staff, as attached to the report. Item effective 25th of February 2025.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Walker, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
No, it's just procedural. Councillor Walker, thank you.
I reckon I might get a plaque.
You're not dead yet, Jen.
No, I'm not dead, no, not a plaque. I might get a framed certificate
Yeah.
at the end of my tenure.
Oh,
Tombstone.
If you look at the policy, councillor, I'm probably a little bit in front of that.
Yes.
Are there any other comments in relation to the policy? Nothing further, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, those against, it's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 8.9 is the Work Health and Safety Policy Review. Councillors will recall we have done some work on this. And there is a recommendation on page 53. Councillor Walker, thank
I'll
you.
move that council adopts the work health and safety policy as attached to this report, item effective 25th of February 2025.
Thank you. So seconded, Councillor Young, thank you. And Councillor Walker, do you wish to speak to the motion? Any questions or comments in relation to it? Procedural, thank you. Operational, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, those against? Carried unanimously, thank you. Agenda item 9.1 is notices of motion. There is a notice of motion on page 55. Councillor Edwards, would you like to move your motion?
yes, I move that the council approves the event support application from Swansea Motorcycle Association Limited for the Smoke Motorcycle Festival 2025, providing a cash contribution of $2,000 and in-kind support subject to available resources.
Is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councillor Edwards, would you like to speak to your motion?
I would, if I may. I think at the last council meeting, there was some misconceptions from some of the councillors about actually where the event was being held. In researching the motion, I've rang the property owner and the organiser of the festival a number of times, to which he informed me some councillors had not done that, so probably weren't over the whole picture. And I would like to thank, can I name the fellow who's here with his motion before? Gary Wisson, who is a very active man in the bird community, for taking the time to come here. I prevented him with gave him the organiser's number. He rang the organiser of the event. It allayed some of his fears. He's going to go up to the event and with the organiser and see what he's doing and see how he's trying to do the right thing. So congratulations to Gary, who's a very big bird man. The event, one of the misconceptions was the event was close to other public land. It's about 2.5 to 3 kilometres from anybody else's property, which is from here to the proposed dam at on Barton Avenue, Bernacchi Drive there, the Solace Dam. So to think that's going to affect a neighbour or anything else is quite ludicrous. The whole event is held in the tidal zone. It uses 100 metres of beach on a 1.2 kilometre privately held to low watermark beach. As soon as the tide comes in and out, any trace of them is gone. There is signage, there is cordoned off anywhere there could be any problems. It's cordoned off from the people who are going to the festival. So every action has been taken to protect any perceived problem, and it's in the tidal zone anyway, where nothing is possibly going to be nesting. And also they have environmental people going up and down the beach to make sure there's nothing nesting in the first place anyway. So I think through some of those misconceptions that maybe some people voted without having the full picture. Also, if it is refused, it would be the first motion for a grant application that has ever been refused by the council, as was told to us by our Director of Finance previously. The only time they've ever been refused is if they haven't had enough information, which is when requested. So I think it'd be a pretty poor reflection when generally any event which is going to bring 800 to 1,000 people to the municipality, stopping any sort of funding or any sort of promotion for our municipality, which at this event would be bordering on criminal.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any other questions or comments in relation to it? Councillor Edwards and then Councillor Young, then the Deputy Mayor, or do you wish to go first, Deputy Mayor?
No, absolutely.
When this motion, not exactly the same, last came before council last meeting, I didn't vote for or again, I abstained. I've got some concerns about it, but I do hold the view that people are entitled to enjoy this municipality, whether it be bushwalking, bird watching, or riding motor vehicles in an area that's reasonably safe and relatively harmless. My concern about the matter is really set forth in the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council Advocacy Issues 2025 at page 4. And the comment made by the Mayor and the Acting General Manager, we must manage the tension between a vibrant visitor economy and avoiding loving to death the very things residents value. I live on a private beach that public are not entitled to use, but people accept their use. There is a bird nesting area there of various rare birds. But if someone walks up the beach, or let alone, as happened a couple of weeks ago, a couple of ewes drove up on their
Councillor
motorbike.
Young, are you introducing different information into this agenda item? Because you're not talking about the beach that we're talking about here, are
I'm
you?
talking about birds and the risks that occur
I
when
understand
you
that.
have intrusion into their habitat. And
I
this,
understand that,
yeah.
councillor, but we're talking about a specific beach, not.
I'll say it without giving the example. It doesn't take much to frighten rare birds away from their nesting sites. And there are over 200,000 people go to places like Coles Bay for the fauna and the beautiful birds. And there are penguins in this area, so I'm told, penguins up at Bicheno that attract people. And I've got some concerns about it because with the best will in the world, 800 people can't be kept away from the sites that cause trouble. Now, I cogitated what position I should take on this. Someone suggested that I should walk out of the room so the quorum drops and it can't be dealt with. I don't propose to do that, but I propose to adhere to my prior position and abstain from voting on the matter.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the motion. Just as far as Councillor Young's concerns go, I think there's lots of mitigation from the organisers to actually manage the environmental concerns. I think that they go above and beyond. They do 30 days before the event to be looking for nesting birds. I don't believe it's an area that birds nest, and that is borne out by the fact that it is week after last year's event, the large southerly swell that took 3 feet of the beach away to the high water mark. So there are no birds nesting in that particular area. I think perhaps we focus a little bit too much on the bistro part of it. It's a very small part of the event, but the people that go there consider it, after speaking to the organiser, that it's a very important part of what they do and how they advertise the event. So it is a little bit a part of how successful they can be. So to them, it is very important. And I think the event will grow. These events aren't readily available to people in the biking community. And I don't know if you've noticed the last week how many bikes are on our roads in the municipality. I suspect a lot of those bikes are here for that event. I suspect they certainly seem to be here early. And the event will grow just purely because of the ripple effect of that. Those guys will go back, so we had a great time, and next time we've got more events. So it's good for our municipality. I think reading through our advocacy statement, we do manage the tension between the environment and usage. And I think we do that very well. I think it's like I always say, we have to coexist. We cannot lock people out of doing things in certain areas in our municipality, because that's part of the attraction, and we just have to manage it. And I think these people putting this event on manage it really well. Happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards, do you want?
Yeah, no, if I may, I just
Yes.
would like to concur with what Councillor Simons, Deputy Mayor Simon said, and also would like to acknowledge Councillor Edwards in his tenacity in bringing this back, which I feel that it needed to be brought back. And if passed, I wish the Spoke Motorcycle Festival 2025 all the greatest success.
Thank you. We did, if I may, Councillor Edwards, the Acting General Manager and I had some communications around the process to bring this back. And he did take some advice, some procedural advice, and so that's why it's back on the agenda. On that note, do you wish to
Yes,
close
yes, I could.
debate?
I'd just like to thank the Acting General Manager and you, Mayor, for doing that research. And I'd also like to thank Councillor Young for not taking advice from others and walking out of the dropping the quorum. I'd like to thank you for that.
I didn't hear that, you know.
Well, you know, you've done the right thing, in my opinion. 200,000 people who go to Coles Bay, as Councillor Young suggests, and they haven't succeeded in scaring away the rare birds and flora and fauna. Unlike 1 hour a year on my whole point of this argument is a privately held beach. It's nobody else's business. And for 50 years, the owner of the property says he has not seen nesting birds, he has not seen penguins, so I don't know where that one's come from, on that beach. But I find it quite amazing that people don't ring the property owner and don't ring the organiser, as Mr. Wisson did, and has had a lot of his fears allayed, and is going to the event to have a chat. Hats off to the man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Close debate. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? You're abstaining. You're abstaining, Councillor. Thank
As
you.
last time.
Councillor Young has abstained. The motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 10 is petitions. We have no petitions. Agenda item 11, we have no questions on notice by councillor. Agenda item 11.2 is an opportunity for councillors to make any comment if they wish. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make a comment or a statement or a plea, maybe not a question. As some would be aware, that there was a rather nasty accident involving 2 youths at Alice Street, is it?
Yeah.
Alice? On the, heading into Prosser Gorge.
Say it again, please.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the Prosser Gorge, you know, where you turn down to go to Hobart on the Tasman Highway. There's a subdivision on the left hand side. It's Alice Street, and it comes out onto the highway. And there was an accident here a couple of weeks ago involving 2 young children and another truck. I believe that the people in that area are going to petition State Growth to move the speed limit from being 80 here to 80 past Alice Street. So it's 60 up until there. If that be the case, I would like to think that we as council would advocate for them on their behalf.
I concur with that.
So that's not a question,
No,
that's actually a statement,
Yeah,
and it's
that's
in support of a family that's been through a bit of trauma.
I
Fair bit.
think it probably goes without saying that Acting General Manager, that is something that we would support from the community.
Yeah.
And it's probably something that as a council we could raise ourselves anyway with State Growth. I know we've raised concerns about that area
Yes,
over many years.
yes.
The bridge and other
Don't
aspects.
start me on the bridge, Madam.
Pardon?
Don't start me on the bridge.
Okay.
Councillor Walker,
So
thank
we
you for
have-
bringing that up.
Yes.
I concur
Yes.
wholeheartedly.
Yes,
Thank you, councillor Walker, for raising that, and it's certainly something that, that we can look at.
And we can advocate strongly for, we're in that position.
We're a very good family who are very
Thank
lucky.
Well done.
Very good.
Well done, councillor Walker.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other questions or comments at 11.2? Nothing further? Agenda item 12 is confidential items. In accordance with meeting procedures, I now declare the meeting closed to the public in order to discuss following matters: the minutes of the closed session, the sale of land for unpaid rates, and personnel matter. There is a recommendation at page 58. Thank you, councillor
I'll
Walker.
move that council moves into closed session at 3:48.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Young, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mrs.